It's funny we're talking about the New England Patriots, and last year, after all those years, Tom Brady's gone. He's down in Tampa. People are talking about all the players opting out due to COVID on the Patriots. Has Bill Belichick got some master plan, some master scheme underway? Is he going to try and tank for Trevor Lawrence or some other crap like that? And then, yeah, they bring in Cam Newton, and they just kind of have an average year. Certainly underwhelming. Meanwhile, to those that always said, well, Tom Brady was just a system quarterback, maybe he was, because he was the fucking system as he went down to Tampa and he won a Super Bowl there, and Bill Belichick didn't make the playoffs. Oopsie daisies. Yeah. Anyways, as you look ahead to 2021, there's certainly going to be a different vibe and different feel with this Patriots team, even compared to 2020. Some of the guys that opted out due to COVID concerns are back in 2021. They went out and spent some money in free agency trying to plug some holes in this roster. They brought in Matt Judon, the edge rusher from the Baltimore Ravens. They doubled up at tight end with Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, apparently trying to recapture some of the glory days of Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez. Brought in Jalen Mills, Devon Godchaux, and Kendrick Bourne, and Kyle Van Noy, and Nelson Aguilar. So this was a Patriots team that spent some money in free agency, which is good. They needed to. Because sometimes Bill Belichick, the general manager, especially as a drafter, is the single biggest enemy of Bill Belichick, the head coach. And let's be clear, as I talked about in the Jets video, it's okay every once in a while to go spending money in free agency. When you consistently you're doing that, or you have to make this volume of moves, this many moves, that means that you have cap space available, which means you've missed a lot in the draft, which means you don't have the for sure quarterback on your franchise. That's not a good thing. You're using the draft to try and mask it, or not using the draft, using free agency to try and mask and cover other deficiencies. That said, though, we'll give Bill Belichick this. Unlike certain Chicago numbskulls, you draft Mac Jones 15th overall. He's there for you. You take him. God forbid, what do you know? You have a quarterback competition. Even though I know Cam is washed, and everybody knows Cam is washed in terms of arm talent at this point, this is still a Cam Newton that was a former league MVP that can still do some things at the quarterback position. And Bill Belichick clearly still had a competition. Whereas an organization like Chicago, run by numbskulls, will say Andy Dalton is our fucking starter no matter what because we're dumb dicks. We don't want to play the best person. We want to play Andy Dalton. We don't want to have a true competition. We want to play Andy Dalton. Here's Bill Belichick, a guy who's won 6 Super Bowls as a head coach. 6! Saying, I'm going to release Cam Newton and I'm going to start Mac Jones. Who's right? Which approach is right? Sorry, when in doubt, go with the guy that has 6 Super Bowl championships. He might know what the hell he's doing in comparison to an organization with leadership that has won 0 playoff games in 6 years. But they did it. They went with Mac Jones. They drafted him, gave him an opportunity to compete. Apparently we're impressed enough, and he's going to be the year 1 starter. Much different vibe around the Patriots now that that's going to happen. We're going to find out a lot about Mac Jones, I think, this year. In terms of this team, and when you talk about the Patriots as a whole in their roster and what do you kind of see, their linebacking core should be really good. I would expect it to be, a improved, better unit even from last year. They're going to be a key cog of that defense. Their pass defense in general was great last year, and I would expect that to be more of the same. And again, you've added some pieces there. So it's a chance for Bill Belichick to work more of his defensive mastery on that side of the ball. And ultimately, the single biggest strength of this team is Bill Belichick, the head coach. There's no question about that. Sometimes one of the biggest weaknesses or one of the biggest question marks about this organization is Bill Belichick, the general manager. Bill Belichick, the general manager, makes a lot of bad decisions, makes a lot of bad draft choices, makes a lot of things harder for Bill Belichick, the head coach. But there is no doubt that if you're talking strictly X's and O's and getting the most out of a team and, saying I want one guy to game plan to find a way to win a game, I'm sorry, I'm taking Bill Belichick. And you guys know you would too at the end of the day. So they have a clear-cut advantage in that category over everybody in that division as it stands right now. That's something that works in their favor. That said, they have a number of questions. Their running game, you traded away Sony Michel for peanuts. Another example, Bill Belichick, the general manager. He took the wrong Georgia running back in round 1, basically. He took Sony Michel instead of Nick Chubb, and how'd that work out? You can say, well, Sony Michel helped him win a Super Bowl. Yep, that's true. That's a good point. And he didn't even finish his first contract with the team. Oopsie daisies. But that running game, is Damian Harris going to be a lead back that you can count on? We will find out. The wide receiving core, like N'Keal Harry so far has been a complete and total crap of a bust. Just bad and awful. And you look at this team and you say, okay, who's going to be able to get open on the outside for a young quarterback, Mac Jones? You're probably going to have to rely a lot on Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry running a lot of 2 tight end sets, which might be okay. The Patriots have enjoyed some success over the years deploying those 2 tight end sets. But at some point in time, you need guys that can affect the game and impact the game on the outside, and I don't know that they have a single one of those right now, frankly. Talking about their pass defense being good, their pass rush is pedestrian. How are they going to be able to consistently get to the quarterback? Because no matter how good your coverage schemes, your coverage principles are, if you can't apply some pressure in the NFL, you have enough quarterbacks that you give them time, even the average ones, you give them time, they're going to find somebody that's open and hurt you. But obviously the biggest question of all is going to be Mac Jones. Now here's a guy who only had 1 year as a primary starter at Alabama, following in Tua's footsteps. He had a great year, obviously, in that 1 year, but how much of that was because of the talent that he played around? You look at the fact, Jalen Waddle, first-round pick. Devontae Smith, first-round pick. Alex Leatherwood, first-round pick. Najee Harris, first-round pick. You look at this team that he came from at college, he had a lot of talent around him. That he doesn't even count the Mechis of the world who weren't even in the draft this year. So how much of that was system and talent, and how much of that was Mac Jones and how good he is? We're going to find out. You always hold tight a little bit when you see a quarterback with average physical traits get drafted in the top half of the first round. That said, when you look past the physical traits and you look at some of the other components of the game, you see Mac Jones has great field awareness, great vision, the ability to anticipate, read and react to what he sees, incredibly accurate. Those things matter too. And he certainly got that in abundance. So for Patriots fans, got to be an exciting season, unlike last year where you have, I'm watching Tom Brady go and win a fucking Super Bowl and the Patriots don't even make the playoffs. At least this year, you're thinking about, okay, it's all about Mac Jones and what they're going to do in the next 10, 12, 15 years. And let's be clear, it is all about Mac Jones this year. It absolutely is. You look at the schedule, first 2 weeks are going to be interesting. Hosting Miami in week 1, so it's going to be Tua versus Mac Jones. Week 2 going to the Jets, so a matchup of first-round pick quarterbacks. That is one thing I will call out about this AFC East, is that this division has the potential to be incredibly exciting in a really big hurry. Because all 4 teams have invested in a young quarterback. The odds that all 4 of them become franchise dudes, I admit, are small. There's always that chance of potential. But we know Buffalo has that dude in Josh Allen. Miami, we don't know yet with Tua one way or another. The Jets, Zach Wilson, rookie, don't know one way or another. New England, Mac Jones, rookie, don't know one way or another. This is exciting. It really is for this division because you got that level of quarterback play. It could be a real dogfight in that division to years to come. So a chance here for New England and Mac Jones the first couple of weeks to show what they can do against some of the other young quarterbacks in that division. And then I look towards the end of the season. I was just trying to look for other stretches that may matter, especially if the Patriots have any designs on the playoffs. I look at weeks 12 through 16, and you look at that schedule and you say, okay, Tennessee, playoff team last year, they host. They got to go to Buffalo, division winners last year. Got a bye sandwiched in there. Then they got to go back on the road to Indianapolis, playoff team last year. Buffalo, hosting them. So you got 2 matchups against the premier team in the division, 2 other matchups against playoff teams. If the Patriots want to get into that mix of making the playoffs or even contending for this division, which seems incredibly unlikely here, admittedly, they're going to have to do some business at that stretch of the schedule. Now, I look at the Patriots this year, and wins and losses shouldn't be as important. They matter to a certain degree as always, but I would say this: if the Patriots go 8-9, which is what I think they are as a team, and that might be generous. Like, there's a part of me that wanted to say this team might be worse than the Jets, but it's all semantics. It really doesn't matter. The number one thing that matters is Mac Jones and his development, his growth and progression throughout the season, what he shows he can do or can't do. That's what matters. Everything else is secondary. If this team wins 11 games but Mac Jones completely sucks dong, that's not good. If this team is a mess and wins 4 or 5 games but Mac Jones looks really damn good, that's okay. So I'm going for kind of the middle ground here. Mac Jones looks solid with some moments of really good and some moments of and this team finishes with about 8 wins and they're going to be third in the division. So if they do that, that should be considered a successful season for the New England Patriots. I know the New England Patriots and their fan base have gotten spoiled over the past 2 decades, so it's not going to feel successful. But if Mac Jones shows he could be the guy this year, fuck your record. That is the only thing that matters.